Yoshihiro Togashi, the man, the myth, the manga legend. Creator of beloved classics like Yu Yu Hakusho, Hunter x Hunter, and Ubunu and Chibunu. As all great artists must suffer, he's been plagued with stress from deadlines and health issues that cause months-long and sometimes even years-long hiatuses. When healthy, he crafts stories on par with all the other major shonens, the Narutos and Bleaches and One Pieces, arcs with action, interweaving storylines and relatable characters that grow and change with time, moments of levity that make you laugh, and a few chapters later you'll be shedding thug tears. Today I'm analyzing the art and techniques used by Togashi to tell such great stories and create compelling characters. I'll be detailing his techniques, his philosophy about storytelling, and advice on pursuing your artistic endeavors. Sources for this include interviews in Sensei Hakusho, the manga about being an assistant to Togashi during Yu Yu Hakusho and Level E. Let's start where all books do. The cover. The book cover set the first impression on the reader. In aisles of sleeves, when you pick a book up, the cover sets the tone. Its compositions generally consist of characters either facing the front or turned in 3/4 view. Typically an important character or mood that matches the energy of the volume. Sometimes it has the protagonist of the arc in the foreground with the antagonist in the background. Other times a lighthearted moment with a cast member and a strange magical beast. He uses inks and watercolors to draw and paint the covers while using inks and halftones on the characters in the manga. Speaking of characters, let's discuss the character designs. To me, character designs should show you who a character is. Are they conniving, cheery, contemplative? Whatever the case, their design should give some hints as to who they are without a single line of dialogue. Togashi had this to say about drawing distinct characters, quote, who would not be forgotten visually. His art style in a word is angular. Sharp noses, spiky hair, jagged shaped language, and the like. As stated earlier, Hunter x Hunter looks more cartoony to match its initial lighthearted tone. And this is just a theory, but also to be easier to draw in a serialized form for months and years on end. When picking colors for important characters, he picks a color scheme to make them more distinct and visually interesting. For Gon, a complementary color scheme with bright colors reflecting nature and his cheery personality is used. His simple design fitting for a simple character has spiky shonen hair and boots. Killua's main design sports an analogous color scheme with cool muted colors to reflect his upbringing as a cold-blooded killer. Kurapika a complementary color scheme primarily featuring blue, a cool color for someone so level-headed. Credit to Anonymous on Tumblr for noticing that the further along in his quest he got, the further his clothing strayed from his roots. Keep in mind that this isn't a law that certain schemes need to be used to get these effects. Different cultures have different color associations and psychological effects associated with them. Just color theory wise, using schemes will look nicer in general. A theme for most of his character designs can be represented with a formula. Basic and simple plus one big theme. For Gon, he has his spiky hair plus boots. Kurapika sports the blonde hair and the robe. Killua has the white hair to make him more distinct. And Leorio? This extends to antagonists as well. Phantom Troop examples are subversions of horror tropes. Pakunoda being a witch dressed like a girl boss. Frollo being Lucifer with a trench coat. Franklin being Frankenstein plus droopy ears. Manolanov a mummy plus boxing gloves. Kortopi and Uvogin being a Kasa Obake and a werewolf respectively. After that you have to start reaching a bit for the rest of the Phantom Troop's design inspirations. One last thing I'll note is that sometimes he subverts gender norms and has androgynous characters. Males donning dresses and wearing crop tops, perhaps as a way of stating that their character is more important than what gender others think they are. Functionally, the crop tops create a more distinct silhouette. Somebody smarter than me can get into the gender dynamics of the series. Next chapter will deal with how Togashi illustrates emotions. Manga is a visual medium. Well, for the most part. Meaning a character or narrator can say how someone is feeling. But at the same time, you can draw different interpretations based on the artwork. With visual mediums, it's usually show don't tell is the key. With manga, you get to show and tell. The mangaka's goal is to get the feelings of their character across while showcasing the themes of the story. Oftentimes, characters' emotions can't be read binarily, only happy, only sad, only angry, etc. In real life, we don't live this way. Sometimes you feel a mix of emotions. This is where techniques come in, like the use of the archaic smile. When asked if these smiles was intentional, Togashi said this, quote, I am insistent on drawing mysterious expressions that are a mix of different feelings. Also, when drawing these expressions, the corner of the mouth is the easiest area to handle. This subtle curve of the mouth can be perceived in many different ways. A mix of happiness and determination, or a mix of fear and excitement, tenderness and compassion. He also low-key uses fraction representation for a specific character. Fraction representation is a showing of a part of a subject that otherwise wouldn't be seen from a specific view. Think cubism or Egyptian eyes, where even in profile view, the eye still looks like it's facing the front. Him using it on Illumi serves a point besides being nerdy. Illumi is a cold, manipulative, and unfeeling assassin. Characters describe him as such, but this is seen in his appearance as well. His mouth is tiny and unexpressive. His eyes remain lifeless no matter what mood he's feeling, outside of one time he loses his cool. This is just one way character designs go a long way in characterization. For less subtle emotions like joy, characters have big eyes and large smiles that take up half the face. This is not much different from his previous less abstract works of Hakusho, where faces got really expressive. Even though they were more realistic in their rendering style, for the sake of exaggeration their expressions got more stretched and cheapified. But in stark contrast to Level E, which almost never breaks the realistic proportions, this expressiveness matches the generally more lighthearted tone of the story of Hunter x Hunter. This is flipped for sadness and grief. More detail is used to capture the way the face wrinkles up to cry or frown. A bit of foreshadowing, but one thing you'll notice when looking closer is that detail equals more emphasis on that emotion. At times there's not even any coloring or shading to them, reflecting their emptiness. For fear the lines become wobbly and sketchy as if the character is shaking. These frantic lines add energy, but also illustrates how afraid their psyche is. This fear can be induced by the situation they find themselves in, or from sinister aura. With malice, characters are subject to showing their true hatred or bloodlust. They're depicted in shadow or darkness, usually a strong contrast of white and black to emphasize this intense feeling. This lack of light shows no good intentions or deviousness is afoot. They say every line adds 10 years. Whenever things get serious, you get extremely detailed panels. This is usually foreshadowing that something horrible is imminent. And they say Togashi can't draw. Imagery. Much as all works are derivative, Togashi also draws from real-life inspirations in other media in his work. This extends to characterizing people through their abilities. Nin being one of the best power systems in anime and Hatsu being individualized to each person as an expression of their personality, some draw from religious imagery, like Netero's Guanyin Bodhisattva. It's a subversion of Buddhist imagery, Kannon, who use their 1,000 arms to help those in need. Netero uses them for battle, hence why this otherwise peaceful statue is weeping. Palm's merman clairvoyance is based off the history of scrying using crystal balls. Other times, abilities' names may be derived from other works, not drawing from religion but serving as an extension of the characterization. Hisoka's bungee gum is malleable and flexible, paralleling Hisoka's role as the jester in the story. Sometimes an ally or antagonist if need be. Crollo's bandit secret has him using other people's Hatsus/identities, forming his own because he doesn't truly know who he is. Kurapika's chains reflect his quest for vengeance that has him chained to his past. Just solid world building all around. Nobody has to outright say what and why and how their abilities came to be. You're able to draw those conclusions for yourself, showing and telling at the same time without feeling unnatural or forced. Bad art and hiatus ex hiatus. So, is Togashi a bad artist? I mean, like, look at this. Oh my. But also, look at this. And this. And this! If that's not range, then I don't know what is. Jests aside, how is there so much variance in his artistic ability? Is it just luck? Averaging to the means? Like a broken clock is bound to be right twice a day. Let me just clear this up right quick. No, Togashi's not a bad artist. One must have a great understanding of proportions and anatomy to exaggerate them or abstractify them effectively, of which Togashi does. When called for, detailed expressions, grotesque creatures, or realistic rendering is showcased, whatever services the story when chapters are being published weekly. There have been times where art is straight up unfinished though. Not for a lack of trying, but legit because of his help. I implore every one of you watching right now, just go through and read his author's notes I've linked in the description. Any doubts or complaints will likely be assuaged after reading through them. For years now, he's had debilitating chronic pain that makes working, let alone basic human functions like sitting, standing, or even sleeping difficult. Togashi's health means sometimes he has to rush to finish the latest chapters by 11:59 or take a break. The 20-week hiatuses, 50-week hiatuses, 4-year hiatuses start making more and more sense. Hearing how he's grateful to be able to sit in a chair without pain, not being able to move 1 centimeter, laying in bed without excruciating pain, literally having to crawl around like a baby to move. And in fairness to him, he does redo the panels later if it's really egregious. He's also not the only manga author to release chapters in an incomplete state. Those deadlines of releasing new interesting chapters for overarching stories that last months or years on end sounds brutal. Yet it gets nicknamed Hiatus X Hiatus. Quite frankly, being a mangaka is an unforgiving career. Togashi isn't the first, and sadly he won't be the last to suffer for his art. Countless mangakas sacrifice their time and health for their fans to make deadlines. You may be asking though, but why doesn't he just get his assistants to draw? Why not get his wife of Sailor Moon fame to draw for him? Or hire another mangaka? I mean, Sweet Ishida has drawn one-shots for the story before. At this point, just write it as a book and we'll fill in the blanks. Just take a Tylenol, damn! To find this answer, insights gained from interviews, author's notes, and first-hand accounts of people that were around him are important. Contrary to popular belief, Togashi doesn't draw every single thing in the books. He has gotten people like his wife to help color for him and do halftones. He's had assistants to do the quote-unquote grunt work like backgrounds for him since the early 90s. I'm of the firm belief that authors have a little piece of themselves or their experiences in each character. Hunter x Hunter is a story that's very personal to him, a part of his legacy he's been raising for the last 27 years. So when people ask him why not get somebody else to draw for you, and he says, quote, "If I do that, my life as a mangaka is over." I liken it to asking someone else to paint for Picasso, write for Tolkien, or play the Beatles' instruments. Art being such a personal experience and form of expression, asking for someone else's themes, someone else's voice, someone else's soul to speak for you. Something you eat, sleep, live, and breathe on a literal, daily basis can be a tough task. It's like I started the video with. The man, the myth, the manga legend. But first and foremost, the man. He's only human. Sometimes stress, family, and health are a bigger priority than comic books. Researching for this video has opened a new light in my view of the series and the main person behind it. As a fan, we do appreciate your works, Togashi, and for them, I am grateful.